So good evening, everybody. This is April Rashad, and welcome to tonight's webinar where we're going to be talking about some really important health topics, including gut health and some things that you can do to boost your immunity. And I feel like this discussion is so vital because your gut really is the root to so many different conditions, everything from autoimmune conditions to what's happening with your sleep and anxiety and other conditions that a lot of people are dealing with, skin issues, headaches, that type of thing. So we're going to go through this tonight, and I'm just going to encourage you to jot down any questions. Make sure your microphone, you know how to be able to turn it on, and I will unmute everybody at the end of this recording. What I will do is I'll make sure to stop the recording near the end so that if people want privacy to ask any question that may be on their mind, they feel, free to do that with some privacy. And that section will not be recorded, just so that you know, and that way we can utilize this and we don't have to worry about the content. So if you don't know me, my name is April Rashad. I have a background in healthcare, specifically in head injury rehabilitation. Used to work with brain injured individuals in a neurobehavioral program. I am a certified nutritional consultant now. I'm also a TLS coach and trainer. TLS is really just a weight management system that uses low glycemic, clean eating as sort of the base of what that program is about, though it's highly customizable. And I implement wellness programs for gyms and different health practitioners. And aside from that, I'm just like you, right? I'm married 18 years. I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids that are aged 11, 14, and 16. And so, I probably lead a very similar life to many of you. So tonight we're conducting what we call a wine and wellness. Like I said, I hope you have your glass of wine. I love this. If you have to ask if it's too early to drink wine, you're an amateur and we can't be friends, right? It's like one of my favorite sayings. So, this is all about balance, and that's why I always call it wine and wellness. If you really got into it, you'd want to start living in a biosphere so that you could protect yourself from every, toxin, chemical, and everything else that's out there. But what we want to really cover tonight are just a few things that you can maybe take away from what we're going to discuss and really just try to implement 1 or 2 or 3 new things that maybe you're not already doing. Probably a lot of you have already been taking steps to be your best advocate and to really try to better your health, and a lot of times in natural ways. And certainly it's a trend, but there's a ton of information out there. So we just want to cover little bits and pieces as we're going to start doing on a monthly basis, hoping that maybe that will help you in some way to just either answer a question or, like I said, maybe just take a step in the right direction, where you've been headed all this time anyway. So I always love to ask this question, which you can just sort of think to yourself, if you could change one thing about your health, what would it be? So the scale there is just really representing that if 0 was an absence of symptoms, where would you put yourself on that scale? Where's your health right now? And then really kind of think about where you want to be, because I know that no matter how healthy you are, there's ways that you want to improve. Isn't that true? So, it could be anything from just wanting to maintain your youth to toning up. Or it may just be that you get, frequent or infrequent headaches. It could be something that small and that simple, but there's some of you out there that really are having a lot of health challenges. And so it can be overwhelming, but just looking at, if you were a -5, getting to a -3, wouldn't that be putting you in the right direction? And again, that's really kind of what we're talking about tonight. So take a look at these conditions that are here on the screen and think to yourself, check this off as I read them, how many of these conditions affect you or somebody that you know. So I'll just run through them. Headaches, joint or chronic pain of any sort, moodiness, anxiety, even depression, cancer, autoimmune conditions, GI issues, could be bloating, it could be constipation, it could be overactivity, it could be IBS, anything that relates to that. Asthma, allergies, sleep issues, high blood pressure or cholesterol, high blood sugar. And, it doesn't have to be diabetes. You might just know that you're borderline or what they call metabolic syndrome. Maybe you have weight concerns, the inability to lose weight or trouble losing weight or even to gain weight. Energy deficits, COPD, family history of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS, MS, or something else like that. Maybe you're just somebody who's slow to heal, or you get sick very frequently and it just sort of recurs. And maybe you're somebody that has something like sugar cravings or food addiction, which I know is a really big topic for a lot of people. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because food and supplementation and lifestyle can be the answer for so much of this. And I want to tell you that 95% of what's ailing you could probably be fixed with those things that I just discussed. And also, of course, mitigating stress. But your body is like a car. And so I always ask, what are you using for fuel? Because what you put in your body as you drip it day by day by day by day, multiple times a day, has a huge impact on what you feel like today. So your health is a direct relation, is in direct relationship to the lifestyle. It's your environment that you're living in. It's the stress that you're under. It's the air that you're breathing. It's what you're consuming on a day-to-day basis. And our medical community, especially in this country, is not super concerned about prevention. Yes, there is a trend to that now, but that's not what we've been taught. Just look at a school lunch or what you'd be fed in a hospital situation. And yet food can be so healing. And I know that if you're on this call right now, that you realize that. I love that this statement, it's not originally from Mark Hyman, but I quoted him, that food can either be the best medicine or the slowest form of poison. When you agree? So it's just that little bit that's dripping day to day. Now, if you were to put sugar water in your gas tank, you laugh at that, but how long would it take before your engine seized, right? Or if you eliminated something, a fluid that it needed, like oil, how long could you drive that before your engine seized or something else happened to your car? But we don't think about that the way it's, happening to our body. We don't mind to drip poison in it every single day and expose ourselves to so many things or eliminate what we should be putting into our body. And so I'm here to just sort of share some ideas with you on ways that you can really fix that. So let's start by testing your knowledge. And I know you can't answer me because I have you all muted, but how much herbicide and pesticide do you think that the average American consumes in a year? That's the first question that I have for you. And you may or may not be surprised to know that it's 10 to 15 pounds. And that's not even a lot if you consider how much sugar the average American is consuming in a year, which is 150 plus pounds. Think about that for a second. Now, it may not be you, but this is not just coming from things that, like a donut or Halloween candy, right? Isn't that timely? Or things like that have sugar in them. It's the hidden sugar in the Luna bar. It's the beverage that you're having that, has a little bit of sugar. You just didn't pay attention to it. It could be things like a cereal or things that have sugar in them, but 155 pounds or so is what the average American is consuming. Then you talk about plastic water bottles. There's so much research now, you guys, even touching plastic, then microwaving it or putting it in your dishwasher. All of that is actually putting chemicals directly into your system. But just even from a plastic water bottle, I know some of us have them now that they're BPA free, and that's absolutely a step in the right direction. But they shouldn't be put into a microwave, or they shouldn't be put into a dishwasher where they're heated up, for one thing. And on the other hand, let's say the recycling type of, the Poland Springs, those type of water bottles. A lot of people are trying to do better for the environment because they know the plastic bottles aren't great. So they reuse them. But I'm telling you that there are dioxins and other chemicals that are leaching in from that plastic to your water, and you're consuming it. And it is putting a massive toxic load on your system. And then we get to, what do you believe that microwave safe means? And I know a lot of people say it's safe to put in the microwave, right? But really what that means is that it's safe for the microwave. It does not mean that it's safe for you to have put it in the microwave. What should you use? You should be using glass, right? Or paper that doesn't have any kind of coating on it. And then how about how many people get actual 8 hours of sleep a night? I know there's a few of you on here actually that do, because I can see the list. But, for so many people, it's 6 to 7 hours at best on average. That's what the average American, is getting. But I even saw somebody that was on social media today asking a question of their friends, how many people have difficulty sleeping? And, there was an easy, quick 30 responses where people were saying, I'm up 2 to 3 times. I can't fall asleep. I wake up sweating. I, can't fall back asleep if I get up to go to the bathroom. Like, there's so many different issues where people really aren't getting quality sleep right now, and it has an impact on your health. But 4 out of the 5 top killers in this country are preventable. I mean, we're talking about things like heart disease, which since 1900, you guys, has still been the number one reason that people are dying in this country. And yet we know that so much of what's going on with cardiac incidents and stroke is preventable. Now, 1 in every 3 people is going to be diagnosed with cancer. I think one of the most exciting things that we can find now is that food has such an impact now, and that there's starting to be a shift in how cancer patients are going to be treated, even though some of the research is early. But we're seeing these things that are actually happening where people are able to reverse that because they're creating an alkaline space in their body and that kind of environment where cancer can't grow. But 1 in 4 people are dying from, heart disease. 50% of them are death, strokes, and heart disease. 215,000 people under the age of 20 and 79 million that are over the age of 20 have diabetes right now. And this one really got me. A third of Americans are getting 50% of their calories from fast food. It's insane. And by the way, Panera is fast food, right? Dunkin' Donuts is fast food. It's not just McDonald's and Burger King and things like that. There's so many places where people think that they're eating something healthy because it's in the guise of something that is, but it really truly isn't. So we know that there's a problem with our food. We have archaic ideas of what we're supposed to be eating. If you look online, there's 1,000 different ways that people are telling you. And the truth is that not any one of you are alike. So, we do teach weight management classes, and that's not what we're here to talk about tonight specifically. But just understand that even though we started with can you believe, look at that food pyramid right now. I mean, everybody on here is at least smart enough to know that having 6 to 11 servings of breads and cereals is not a great idea, right? That's the food industry telling you to eat everything that they generate that's processed and GMO, and that is not the way it should be. Your vegetables should be 8 to 12 servings a day, and nobody needs what the pretty pink plate says over there, where you should be having fruits, vegetable, grains, protein, and dairy at every meal. You could live very happily without the grains and dairy, and your body would thank you for it. We've also got an issue with food fraud where we're trying to do things that are great. For example, replacing bad fats with good fats. So hopefully you've moved away from vegetable oils, even canola and corn oils and things, and you're moving to things like olive oil. But if I told you that 73% of extra virgin olive oil failed the international sensory standards and were not even olive oil, would you be surprised? They were a mix of oils, canola, and there was a suggestion that there was an olive in the room. It was terrible. Now, this is just one source, but you can find this all over, and there is an international olive oil council, so you can go look up your favorite brands and find out whether or not what you're eating is real. And why am I telling you all these things? It's not just to freak you out. It's to tell you that, what's happening in our food industry, you have to take control. You have to be your best advocate. Labels are able to be off by up to 25%. And I ask you, if you go into work tomorrow and you tell them that you're going to be, performing at 25% an error rate, how's that going to go over? I mean, it's insane. If you went to the doctor and they weighed you and they told you were 25% more than what you were because that was the percentage of error they were supposed to give you, or a medication, would that be okay? But labels are able to be off by 25% in terms of what is the content in them. It's insane right now. And we are eating things and feeding our children things that aren't even real, or they're disguised and they look okay because it's what we're used to. But if you really truly knew what was happening in the food industry, you would change what you were eating. What you're seeing on the left is the pink slime. It can be used in burgers. It can be used in chicken. It just depends if that's meat or if that's chicken, like if it's beef or chicken. But what they do is they take all these different parts of the chicken or all the different parts of the beef and they blend it together, and they literally add ammonia to it to try to kill off all of the bacteria. They bread it, deep fry it, or they put it in a burger. And what you're seeing right here is what a McDonald's chicken nugget is. So the ammonia is going to bleach it, they're going to bread it, and it's going to look like chicken. But you know that chicken in your house does not taste like a McDonald's chicken nugget. Would you agree with that? And so it's just that we're so desensitized to what's happening today that we do these things anyway. So I know it can be daunting, but we have to take control of our health. We have to be the ones to do that. And so the question always becomes where do you start? And it's a combination of different things. But really, what I'm talking about tonight is healing the gut. Start in your gut and then try to cover deficiencies, because we're not even talking about things, like having nettle tea at night, because that's a great idea, or, having to, create some kind of crazy aloe water, or, whatever with plants. Yeah, those things would all be great. But could we just start with some basic things to heal the gut, clean up our diet, and then cover some deficiencies in some basic vitamins and minerals that really are crazy how many of us are deficient in them. So why your GI tract? Well, it's because it's linked to your immune system. 70+% of it is linked to your immune system. Your propensity for disease is directly linked to how healthy your GI tract is. Your skin, do you get breakouts? Do you get, eczema, psoriasis, dry skin, any of those types of things? Deficiencies and cravings, anxiety and depression. A lot of people would be surprised. They say, well, how is anxiety or depression linked to my GI tract? And a lot of that is because 99% of your serotonin, which is that neurotransmitter that makes you feel happy, is created and housed in your gut. And so when your gut is not healthy, what happens is you have a downtick there of how much serotonin is being produced, and you're not getting that, right? Or the signals and how many nutrients you're able to absorb, either to create them or just to be able to, manage the other functions that are happening, are really decreased. So it is so important to get your GI tract, on point. Now, one of the things you could look at is that you're supposed to have 85% good bacteria in your gut to 15% bad. And I don't know if people realize that that's sort of what the ratio is, but a lot of people are probably more 40-60, 50-50, and that's where a big problem can occur. And that's why a lot of people have heard of like probiotics and things like that. It's also important to know what's depleting the good bugs in your system so you can start to make some lifestyle changes. Number one is antibacterial soap. I put this at the top because I know too many people who are germaphobes. Now, I'm not telling you if you go to the gym and you're touching everything and it's cold and flu season and all that's there is, an antibacterial soap or a pump that has some sanitizer in it, that you shouldn't use it. That's not what I'm talking about. But, or to have one of those in your purse for on occasion. My point is that every single soap, it seems like, in somebody's house, or the things that they have in their purse, is that they're overusing them. And just like an antibiotic, what the antibacterial soap is doing is killing a lot of the bugs, the good bugs, right? Not just the bad bugs. And so what then happens is you're starting to tilt the scales in the wrong direction. But other things like sugar, processed food, stress, you would be surprised how much stress can really affect your health overall. I mean, I think people say it, but it's almost like, yeah, stress, it makes it worse. But I'm telling you, stress, mindset, having a good frame of mind has so much to do with your overall health. So it's not something to be taken lightly. But I'm also talking about chemical stress, right, on your body. So that lack of sleep or poor sleep, toxins, GMOs, chemicals, medications, over the counter or prescribed, and not eating some probiotic rich foods, all of these things can deplete your body of good bugs. So how do you fix it? Well, one of the things to do is to take a supplement like a probiotic, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. Now, people ask me all the time about fermented foods. There's nothing so fermented foods are great. I just need you to understand it's not live cultures necessarily. Like, yes, there are some in kefir and some yogurts, but again, if you're talking about a regular yogurt, you're introducing dairy, which is actually killing off some good bugs and is creating some inflammation in your system. So your body has to work overtime. And a lot of people really have sensitivities to casein or whey, the proteins in dairy, or, some of the other proteins in dairy, or the lactose, the sugar. So, but why are fermented foods good? Well, they're good because they can add some food basically for your probiotics that are in your system. You just have to make sure it's not the heated things, and it's not the wine you're drinking, by the way, either. There's resveratrol if you're drinking red wine, and that's fantastic. But if you're like heating up sauerkraut, or heating up foods, or they're in cans or something, then really there's no live cultures that are in there. But fermented foods like kimchi or pickled ginger or cold sauerkraut, if it's organic, or some kefir, can be good because it can provide just a nice environment to be able to feed some good bacteria to help it to repopulate. But alkaline foods are going to be really important. And so those are like greens. We're going to talk about that. Avoidance of sugar, sleep, and to detox once a year are all good things you can do to start tipping the scales in the other directions. But why you've heard so much about probiotics and prebiotics is really because of your microbiome. It's really what's happening and what the state is in that environment in your belly. And so, with probiotics, what's super important is that you're getting multiple strains of good bacteria. So it's not just acidophilus or lactobacillus. There are many different strains of good bacteria, and what you're trying to do is repopulate so many of these different kinds. So on the far left on the bottom is a brand that I recommend, and it's a Probiotics 10. And so that one I love because it has 10 different strains that are very well researched. And it also has, without having to refrigerate it, it has a great way to be able to keep the integrity of the 10 billion CFUs, the colony forming units that are there, alive without refrigeration, with a really cool technology. It's live back technology that is able to keep them alive all the way to the deep layers of the stomach so that they can actually help to repopulate good bacteria. Now, you could have up to 100,000 billion CFUs. So you could really get up there. But what happens if you do a high number of CFUs right away is that you can really feel ill for a while because of the die-off effect. So I love this supplement because people really do feel the effects of it, but you're also doing something really good in terms of repopulating your good bacteria. Now, prebiotics are there to feed the probiotics. That's the food for them. And that is present in the second product. It's a different company, and it's a NutriClean fiber powder. And what's great about the fiber powder is that it's great for regulating your system. Most of us don't get enough fiber anyway. We're not eating enough vegetables. So it's great to just sort of fill in the gaps, but it's not caustic to your GI tract. And what's really cool too is that it has the prebiotics, it has probiotics, and it also has L-glutamine, which is very nice to seal a lot of the leaks and the openings that can happen in your GI tract. So it's such important nutrients that are all blended into that one. And then on the bottom, the third one across is called digestive enzymes with probiotics. So another way to get in some probiotics, but also to give your body some enzymes that are depleted to sort of give it a break and help to break down the food and extract so many of the nutrients that you're not getting from the foods that you're eating. A lot of your foods are deficient in nutrients anyway, probably 50% less than were there in 1950 for starters, but also we cook things and we refrigerate and freeze them. And what's happening is a lot of the natural enzymes that were in those foods are dying off as well as the nutrients. So having something like digestive enzymes, again, is just going to allow you to get more nutrients that you really need. And finally, omega-3s. And it's like, how does this relate to the gut? But I'm telling you, unless you're eating 8 ounces of quality fish every single day, or 4 cans of tuna with the side order of mercury poisoning and PCB, toxic overload. But, so it's hard to get the right amount of good fish. So that's about what you're supposed to be getting. But in this particular brand of heart health omega-3, I like this, but it also, again, keeps the integrity of the gut and helps your body to be able to hold on to the prebiotics and the probiotics, the prebiotics that are feeding those probiotics. So these are just a couple of things that you can do that are really helpful. And if you have questions on that, don't worry, we're going to stop at the end to answer some, so you can just jot something down. Once a year, I always tell people it's a great idea to do some kind of systematic cleanse using food for your GI tract. So on the left, proteins and veggies, but really limiting the protein content and really increasing the vegetable content, mostly green. Having limited maybe sugary fruits, but doing lots of great like berries and apples and pears and, some other things like that, some papaya and things that can be really awesome to really restore your health and your gut health. Fermented foods, like I mentioned, kimchi, maybe cold sauerkraut or pickled ginger, a little bit of good fats, but not overloading to where your liver can't really function. So a little bit of avocado or extra virgin olive oil or coconut oil can be great. And then just like an influx to make sure you're drinking enough water and kombucha tea. How much water? Well, half of your weight in body ounces. Okay, a half of your body weight in ounces, I should say. So if you were 150 pounds, you're really aiming to get for 75 ounces of water in a day. If you're 200 pounds, you're looking for 100 ounces. Now, if you weren't doing that before, that's a big ask for your kidneys. So knowing where you are and starting to actually track how much water you are drinking, or some decaf teas or things like that, would be great. And then really eliminating those things like the sugary beverages, the coffee if it's not organic, and adding in maybe some herbal teas. Don't drink those artificially sweetened iced teas or whatever. Make your own. And really, just water is the only thing that you need, but some herbal teas can be really fantastic. But during a systematic cleanse, we're also eliminating gluten and grains, or dairy and casein, nightshades, legumes, beans, sugar, sweeteners, because we just want to give our body a break. I mean, if I went through the list of just things that were combating your body from a toxic overload standpoint, it would be insane. I mean, we're talking everything from the smell of the gasoline to the plastic you touch and the air that you're breathing and the new carpet that you just had put in. I mean, toxins are everywhere. And then the load from all of the, electronic devices that you have and the food that you put in your body and what you did to yourself in college even, right? So it's so important that we just give our body a break. So once a year, it's great to do that. We usually do a week-long systematic cleanse, and I'll use support supplements like aloe juice, a specific one. So we make sure it's 150 proof aloe, probiotics, digestive enzymes, or even this 7-day cleansing kit you see on the bottom. That's so great to sort of naturally help your body to restore all the nutrients that it needs and help it to release toxins, but be very gentle on their system. So those are a couple of ideas for sort of how to get your body, reset. But it's also important ongoing to just keep your body in a more alkaline state. You may be surprised to know that, even eating chicken and beef, if it's super good quality, is still creating more of an acidic environment in your system. If you're eating dairy, it's creating an acidic environment. And so if you're not doing things, again, to tip the scales the other way, it's like you've got to start asking yourself, what can I do to alkalize my system to ward off disease? Well, that's going to happen in a few ways. And here's some of the best ways to do it. Bottom left, you see the lemons, and everybody wants to say they're acidic and milk is actually, alkaline. Well, yes, on a table it is, but as soon as you put it in your system, that dairy is going to become acidic and create inflammation. And the lemon is actually going to be very alkalizing to your system. So great idea to put lemons or limes in your water. It's like an easy way to do, to get some lemon into your system during the day. Dark greens are going to be one of the best ways that you can do that. And I think I mentioned earlier, 8 to 12 servings of vegetables is what we're aiming for, but how many people are achieving that every day? And are those things actually organic, right? And dark green in nature? And then are you getting the rest of the rainbow? And are you getting a nice wide range? Well, do the best that you can. If you need to supplement, a complete green supplement can be great because you can throw it into a smoothie or throw it into a drink or just take it as a tablet or whatever. It has a fibrous food coating so that you're getting the equivalent of 8 servings of vegetables, or excuse me, the nutrition from like 8 salads in one serving of complete greens. And it's just, again, it's just filling in the gaps. I believe in food first. So you have to take those steps to change your lifestyle. But supplements can be great to sort of just like fill in the gaps of where we can't get on our own all the time. And remember, you're chasing years worth of damage that we've done. So it's just not enough to take a multivitamin. It's not enough to just eat a couple of salads today because we're just not getting the right kind of nutrition. So that's like pouring, salt on an icy driveway and all you did was use a tablespoon of salt. It's not enough. We have to saturate our body, get our body back into a really good state, and then we can move forward in terms of, having optimal health. So on that line of supplements, this is what Dr. Mark Hyman, who's really just like a leading doctor in the world of sort of alternative nutrition and medicine in general, but he says, maybe if we eat only wild, fresh, organic, local, non-genetically modified food grown in virgin mineral and nutrient-rich soils that has not been transported across vast distances and stored for months before being eaten, and we work and live outside, breathe only fresh, unpolluted air, drink only pure, clean water, sleep 9 hours a night, move our bodies every day, and are free from chronic stressors and exposure to environmental toxins, then maybe perhaps we don't need supplements, right? I mean, it's so funny, but it's true. It's like the list goes on for all the different ways that you could really, do damage to your body and what you need to do to sort of undo that. So Covering deficiencies through food and supplementation is definitely vital. I think we've kind of covered that a little, but the quality of what you take too is also imperative. So some of the things I showed you earlier, it's like, well, they come from different manufacturers, and some people say, well, it's a lot. And it's like, I get it, pay now or pay later, pay for the organic veggies or pay later for having, consumed too much pesticides and, getting a disease. It's like pay now or pay later, filter your water, or you're going to be slowly every day upping your water, but drinking water that's not good for you. Pay now or pay later. Take a good quality supplement, or you're going to have expensive pee. So all of these things are sort of important. It's like with the gym, right? Pay now or pay later. Either be completely inactive, or do yourself a favor by strengthening your bones and being active, so you don't have heart conditions and bone issues later. So I think it's crazy what is happening right now with some really well branded vitamins. So I know we're going back to like Flintstones, right? Like back in the 80s, it was like, yep, I popped a Wilma, I'm good to go. But what is in these Flintstone vitamins is like, it's crazy that these are still on the market today. And this is true, by the way, if you look at like the back of a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese or whatever it is. Do you know that even here in the United States, Kraft macaroni and cheese, which is never a good idea on any day of the week, is actually different than it is in Europe? So in Europe, they have 6 less ingredients that are known carcinogens or different toxic chemicals that they allow in the United States, because we don't have as strict rules about what's in the food. So it's still Kraft macaroni and cheese, but they have a pseudo healthier version of it in Europe. I mean, think about the logic behind that and how crazy that is, and what we're allowing, because the big food industries have so much money. And so everybody wants to say, oh, is it FDA approved? Is it? It's like, we're not really doing ourselves any favors. We have to look deeper, and we have to be our own advocates. So let's finish up by talking about this, because this is an important topic. You see sucrose, which is table sugar, basically, is the first ingredient. And then you see all these other different things that are in this Flintstones vitamin. I put an arrow next to the aspartame, which is also next to the FD&C red number 40 aluminum lake, FD&C yellow, blue, all these different fake colors, which are basically chemicals. Aspartame, you guys, I worked in head injury rehab, and let me tell you that aspartame, which you would know as NutraSweet, okay, is in gum, it's in yogurt, it's in bars, and they're starting to remove it and put in Splenda, which is, sucralose, which is less bad. It's just chlorinated sugar, the way, salt is chlorinated sodium. But at the same time, it's not awesome, right? So aspartame is what we would call an artificial sweetener, not an alternative sweetener. And the thing with aspartame is that comes from wood alcohol, which when it's raised to high temperatures, like, I don't know, 98.6 degrees of your body, will turn to formaldehyde, and that will break the blood-brain barrier and cause all sorts of issues. Aspartame should never, 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 never be something that you take in your system. So this is what we're looking at with Flintstones. It's part of why Isotonix is a brand that I absolutely love, because of the bioavailability and the cleanliness. These are clean supplements. Why is that? Well, take a look at a branded multivitamin called Centrum Silver. This is an actual x-ray of a pill 4 days in somebody's digestive tract in their body. That after 4 days, you can still see the pill is about the same exact size at when it started. And that's why, and there it is in the rectum. It's going to come out the way it went in. You guys get that? So it's not good enough to just take something because you're taking something. What you need to do is take what you need, right? And it's great to just start anywhere to get some basic coverage, because most people are deficient in some basic vitamins and minerals. But what's also really important is to take something that you know is clean, is not going to introduce other chemicals, and is actually something your body can use. And so the Isotonix family of products, they cover the gamut, like whether you're into a prenatal, or your doctor told you need calcium, or you want coenzyme Q10, or you're looking for joint and bone health products, or something for digestive, support, or for sleep, energy, whatever. We have a blend or a combination of them for you in that line. And that's what I love about that. So As an example, this is just an example, they come up with blends called Daily Essentials, okay? And this contains a really potent antioxidant, um, antihistamine, things like that, plus a multivitamin. So that is like instead of the Centrum, right? Or instead of the GNC Women's or whatever you're taking, it has an activated B complex, which everybody seems to be deficient in B vitamins, but 70% of people have a gene variation that does not allow your body to convert B vitamins to their active form. So super important you take at least B2, 6, and 12 in their active form, which this has. And then calcium, which also has vitamin D3 in it. So these are so important. And like if you were to take 4 products for $2 to $2.50 a day, depending if you had the bottles or the packets, like how, I mean, that's what people will pay for a coffee, which is just sucking calcium out of their system. And this would give you a really wide range of support and covering deficiencies and inflammation, care at the same time. So the Isotonix Essentials has a bunch of different ones. Like I said, the Daily Essentials at the bottom, but at the top, they do have formulas if you have some specific needs, like for women's health or anti-aging, cognitive support, or you just need something on occasion for energy or for sleep. There are different blends for that, which is so, so cool. So these are really powders, and they are taken by adding water to them, and you can drink them. And they taste like a sweet tart, but they're only sweetened with fruit sugar, fructose. It's not high, it's not um, corn sugar, you know what I mean? It's not high fructose corn sugar. So anyway, so it's just sweetened like that, so it can be isotonic. What does that mean? It means that it can get to your small intestine for absorption without having to be diluted by your stomach acids. Your body does not have to break it down. So they taste great, but they give your body a break, and they're clean. There's no soy, dairy, gluten, anything in them that's going to be problematic for you. Now, if I had to say though that there was like one thing that you should do that's like the most crucial for your health right now, it's not the daily essentials I talked about. Should you? That would be amazing. Should you start with your gut health or do a cleanse and start eating healthier? 100%. But remember what I said before, take 1 or 2 things and be like, okay, I'm going to hydrate and I'm going to take vitamin D. So let's finish while I tell you why this is so important. I don't know when you were last tested. And if when you go to the doctor, you're not asking them to check your vitamin D, you're doing yourself a disservice. They don't always automatically do it, but you can ask, and it should be covered by your insurance when you get your regular blood drawn. So deficiency would be considered to be under 30. When your number comes back, it would be under 30. Doctors may see 30, 32 and say, you're fine. Your lab work comes back. There's no red thing that says, oops, this is out of range. But optimal levels are between 75 and 95. And what's optimal? That means that you're going to be able to avoid a lot of the common issues that happen with either low levels of vitamin D, deficient vitamin D, or not optimal levels. Let's talk about what that looks like. I don't know if people realize that even in sunny areas, people can be D deficient, but we're talking about an epidemic. 75% of people globally are deficient in D right now, and up to 90% as we head through the winter months. Here we are, we're just about to hit daylight savings up in New Hampshire in the Northeast, was where I am, and probably where you are, that you practice this. So we're just not getting exposed even 15 minutes to sun. And if we are, a lot of our makeup and our moisturizers have sunscreen in them, right? So it is a problem. And D deficiency has been linked to certain cancers. It's been linked to your lowered immunity and why you're getting sick all the time, why you feel like you're the girl that always gets the cold or the flu or the respiratory infection, or that your flu or cold or whatever is so bad and it doesn't go away as quick as maybe somebody else's. It's maybe why you feel fatigued even if you slept, or why your muscles or bones can ache. Deficiency can lead to depression, anxiety, and the strength of your teeth and bones. This is not a small thing. When I tell you, like, cover a deficiency, it's like it would be amazing if everybody took OPC3 because it's got antihistamine, anti-inflammatory properties. That was one of the products that was in that daily essential. It would be great. You can't get it in your salad. I think everybody should take it, but I'm telling you that vitamin D can be more important because it is something that your body truly, truly needs. There is a vitamin D receptor on every single cell in the human body, if that tells you anything. It regulates the expression of over 2,000 genes, including those of the immune system, and it's helping your body to make antibodies to fight bacteria and viruses. So it is so crucial that we have enough. And that's why I've been on such a big kick so much with my clients right now and really educating people on the importance of D. But also, again, what did I say before? That how you take something, how bioavailable is it, is really important. And the reason for that is I have friends who have taken a prescription level, 50,000 IUs of vitamin D. And after a month, they go in to get their blood tested, and their doctor accuses them of not taking it, even though they did take it consistently. And why is that? Because they were not utilizing it. It was not changing their blood levels. And then I have other people that said, well, I went into a CVS or BJ's or whatever, and I picked up, a vitamin D, and it was the amount my doctor told me to take, and they took it consistently. And again, their numbers aren't getting up. These are people whose numbers were in like the 15, 17, 22 range. That's very, very low. And so here they are taking what they think is a good idea because the dosing is correct. But see, if the bioavailability is not correct, then their body is not going to assimilate it. So when we talk about getting this vitamin D in the form that you need, that's why I'm talking about the Isotonix, because what I have found so far is that even my own vitamin D level, okay, that was at 26, went up in 1 month of taking this vitamin D in this form, and it got up above 50 just in 1 month. And then I was able to continue to take it to get it up higher. So, I mean, people will say, vitamin D, yes, it's fat soluble. So could you take too much? You could, but you'd really have to take a lot. And we can talk to you about what's been shown in studies to be the most effective over time. And then you can always slow down how much you take or lower the dosing once your levels get to the point where you want them to be. Now, my question to you is who gets a flu shot? Because vitamin D is 6 to 10 times more effective than a flu shot and can boost your immunity, even if you were the person who did get a flu shot. And I'm telling you that because you probably know this, right? You get the flu shot and it's like, you're not even sure if that flu strain that they're that you're getting is going to help you with the type of flu that comes around this time of year. So vitamin D was shown in multiple studies over 10 years to be 6 times more effective than the flu shot or boost your immune system if you did get the flu shot. But if you were deficient in D, it was 10 times more effective. So that's what I suggest to everybody. If you're somebody who's looking to boost your immunity, start with that vitamin D. It's such a simple, not expensive way to get yourself started. Take it in this bioavailable form. And if you really wanted to kick things up because it is cold and flu season, you can add something like a vitamin C, which is so inexpensive to really just kind of give your body double duty. So the question is, as we finish up, what would you do positively that we talked about tonight for your health? Could you get to half of your weight in ounces of water? Could you add lemon to try to alkalize? Could you eliminate, that's supposed to say GMOs. Could you eliminate GMOs? Could you eat more greens, just a little bit more than you were eating yesterday every day? Could you move a little bit more? Could you not introduce a blue screen or any kind of electronics an hour before bed to help your body to get into a restful state? Could you, no, there's the GMOs and high fructose corn syrup and artificial sweeteners. Could you eliminate all of those? Could you lessen the plastic in your life? And could you supplement? Could you just add a vitamin D, or could you just do a gentle cleanse or take a really good quality probiotic? These are the things I ask people to do, to just take action so that you can do something positive tomorrow that's going to make a huge impact in your long-term health. So guys, I thank you so much for being here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop the recording, and that way if there's anybody who is on the call who has a question, you can be sure to be able to ask those questions without it being recorded. Hold on just a moment, please. And thank you so much for coming.